The universe is signaling a momentous shift. There's a powerful awakening occurring in the lives of those who sought to undermine you. It's not a slow dawning, but a sudden, jarring realization for them. They picked the absolute wrong target. This isn't about one solitary individual. Rather, it's a collective awakening. Imagine a ripple effect spreading through a group, starting with the ringleader who orchestrated the malice, and extending to every flying monkey who eagerly followed, blindly participating without a shred of critical thought. They are now, in this very moment, confronting the stark reality of their colossal misjudgment. They didn't understand the magnitude of your spirit. They were utterly ignorant of the divine favor that envelops you, the anointing that marks you as a true child of the Most High. They failed to recognize the sacred covering over your life, a protective shield woven by a power far greater than their limited understanding could grasp. And now, as they are submerged in the bitter waters of their own making, enduring the relentless consequences of their actions, the gravity of their error is becoming blindingly clear. Some among them are even experiencing a spiritual apology, a silent plea for forgiveness within their own consciousness. This isn't born from genuine remorse or a sudden desire to make amends. No. It stems from the overwhelming, suffocating weight of karma pressing down upon them. They are muttering, "I shouldn't have done that. I didn't know." But oh, heaven knew. God always knew. The divine orchestration allowed this challenging situation to unfold, not out of a desire for your suffering, but because the Almighty already knew the inherent strength and indomitable spirit you possessed. He knew that the trials you faced would not consume you, but rather refine you, burn away impurities, and solidify your essence. You, beloved, are a master of transmutation. You possess the extraordinary alchemy of transforming profound pain into unstoppable power. They attempted to erect barriers in your path, sending waves of destructive energy your way. Energy that would have irrevocably shattered a lesser soul. But you absorbed that fire and meticulously converted it into fuel. Yet this intrinsic ability to transmute darkness into light does not in any way diminish the profound injustice of their actions. What they did was unequivocally wrong. It inflicted genuine harm. It tragically altered the trajectory of your life, siphoning away invaluable time, vital energy, and even fragments of your very identity that you've had to painstakingly fight to reclaim and rebuild. For some, the damage manifested as undeniable physical harm. For others, it carved deep, agonizing mental scars. You are in the process of healing, undoubtedly, but the experience fundamentally changed you, and God, in His infinite wisdom, witnessed every single moment of it. This is precisely why karma is descending upon them with such ferocious intensity. It is not because you harbored vengeful thoughts or wished ill upon them, but because divine law is inherently just and unwavering. They conspired to delay your destiny, and now their own destinies are being irrevocably delayed. They sought to block your blessings, and now they are forced to watch your inexorable elevation from the desolate sidelines, haunted by the ignominious role they played in their own downfall. Let them watch. Allow the divine hand to administer justice. Your sacred task is simply to keep rising, to ascend higher and higher. The unseen wounds, navigating trauma, and reclaiming your wholeness. There's a specific truth resonating here, a deep understanding of what you endured. What you experienced transcends mere betrayal or mistreatment. It was trauma, the insidious kind that permeates every fiber of your being, fundamentally rewiring how you perceive and interact with the world. Whether it was at the hands of a manipulative narcissist, a venomous friend group, toxic co-workers, or even someone you once held in the deepest trust, it left an indelible imprint that has yet to fully heal. Some of you are navigating life with the heavy burden of real PTSD, or even complex PTSD, due to the egregious acts committed against you. What amplifies the agony is the stark realization that it was all so unnecessary, so utterly unprovoked. It irrevocably changed you. You no longer think with the same clarity you once possessed, nor do you move through the world with the same unburdened grace. It's as if a core part of you was crumpled, and even with every desperate attempt to smooth it out and move forward like a wrinkled piece of paper, it can never quite return to its original, pristine state. This experience forced you to become more guarded, to question everything. You may have even developed a sense of paranoia or suspicion that feels utterly alien to your true nature. And yes, undoubtedly, this crucible of suffering forged an immense strength within you. You emerged wiser, sharper, and undeniably stronger in spirit. Yet, it's crucial to acknowledge that there are still tender, raw pieces of your being that were profoundly harmed. And that, unequivocally, is not okay. Let me be absolutely clear. Whoever inflicted this damage, whether through their physical actions, their insidious words, or their destructive energy, their karma will not be light. I speak not to fuel your anger, but to articulate an immutable divine law. If you experienced a permanent shift, be it physical or mental, as a direct consequence of someone else's actions, then rest assured, God is handling it. This is not about petty vengeance, but a holy reckoning. They are being dealt with, and for many, that process has already commenced. Their peace is shattered, their blessings are blocked, and their relationships are crumbling, often without them even comprehending the root cause, what they did to you. But heaven knows, and God does not trifle with his chosen ones. You absolutely did not deserve what happened to you, but you will rise in spite of it. That is a sacred promise. The path to wholeness, healing, and divine intervention. Whoever is receiving this message right now, I need you to internalize this truth. What you've been carrying is neither imagined nor minor. It is real, and it runs profoundly deep. Something happened. Perhaps it was a devastating car accident, malicious sabotage at work, or some other violent, reckless act. Whatever the nature of the event, it left behind far more than superficial bruises. It caused genuine damage. I'm speaking of both tangible physical damage and the more insidious, pervasive emotional and mental wounds. Some of you have noticed a disconcerting shift in your mental landscape. Your mind simply doesn't feel the same. You're not as quick to trust, and that inherent sense of safety you once possessed has evaporated. There are intrusive flashbacks, debilitating anxiety, perhaps even crippling depression or episodes of dissociation. You may have never grappled with mental health challenges before, but now it feels as if something foreign, something utterly uninvited, has taken residence within you. It is undeniably exhausting. But hear me now. You are powerful. You are inherently strong. You will navigate and work through this. This is not the conclusion of your story. It is merely a profoundly difficult chapter, nestled within a grander narrative that culminates in resounding victory. The pain that currently resides within your body is temporary, even if it feels agonizingly permanent. It may demand time, unwavering prayer, dedicated hydration, therapeutic intervention, reflective journaling, grounding practices, and profound divine support, but you will heal. Do not attempt to shoulder this burden alone. Ask God directly. Speak it aloud. God, help me release this from my body. Help me heal the trauma in my mind and nervous system. You would be astonished by the shifts that will begin to occur when you invite divine authority into your recovery process. I have walked this very path. I have documented my journey, and I have emerged a survivor of complex PTSD. Let me assure you, healing is not a fantasy. It is an attainable reality. You are not broken beyond repair. You are not too far gone. You simply require time, unwavering support, and an abundance of grace. The unfolding consequences, their regret, your radiance. And for those who so callously contributed to this trauma, let me reiterate with absolute clarity. What they did was not okay. It is an act of profound evil to be the direct cause of another human being developing trauma. There are immutable divine consequences for actions of such magnitude, not only within the confines of this earthly realm, but more importantly, from the boundless spiritual realm. And they will, without exception, answer for it. However, your sacred purpose is not to seek revenge. Your ultimate mission is survival, healing, the attainment of wholeness, and the glorious reclamation of your inherent light. Whoever this message is resonating with, I implore you to grasp this truth firmly. Someone, or a group of someones, is now awakening to the crushing reality that targeting you was the most catastrophic decision they could have ever made. Not merely because their malicious efforts failed, but because it cost them everything. This individual or collective believed they could halt your progress, impede your momentum, tarnish your reputation, dim your inherent light, and delay your destiny. Yet not only did they utterly fail in their attempts to harm you, they also spectacularly failed at living their own lives. This is the crucial, painful truth they were unprepared for, the silent consequence that nobody ever discusses. You see, while they were consumed, utterly possessed, by their obsession with you, they forfeited everything of true value in their own lives. Their eyes were so fixated on your every move, your light, your ascent, that they forgot they had a path of their own to walk, a soul of their own to tend to. They abandoned their calling, neglected their purpose, and severed the very connection that tethered them to divine guidance. In trying to sabotage your alignment, they shattered their own. They stopped dreaming for themselves. They stopped building anything of meaning. They stopped feeding their own spirit. It wasn't just distraction. It was full-on spiritual self-abandonment. And all of it, every last bit of it, was fueled by one toxic obsession: you. What began as envy evolved into fixation. What started as resentment metastasized into a soul-deep sickness. Their minds became crowded with thoughts of you, what you were doing, who you were becoming, how others saw you, why you kept rising despite every trap they set. And in that relentless spiral, they gave away their power, piece by piece. They traded their potential for petty bitterness, their growth for gossip, and their peace for poison. Every seed they could have planted in their own garden of destiny was instead thrown at your feet in the hopes it would trip you. But you, beloved, walked right through it. And now all they are left with is barren soil. And now they sit, broken and bewildered, in the desolate wreckage of their own design. Nothing blossomed, nothing thrived. And they have the audacity to look around and wonder, how did I get here? But deep down, they know. They know they veered so far off course, not because life unfairly led them astray, but because they chose hatred over healing, jealousy over joy, vengeance over vision. The realization is creeping in now, slowly, insidiously, like a fog that won't lift. It clings to them in the silence of the night, in the echo of missed opportunities, in the quiet hollowness of a life that once had promise, but was squandered chasing shadows. For some, this epiphany feels like a haunting. They move through their days as if under a spell, dazed by their own choices, shocked by the magnitude of what they've lost. And in many ways they were under a spell, not cast by you, but summoned by the very energy they entertained. Because when someone bathes long enough in bitterness, when they feed the spirit of envy day after day, they open invisible doors. And not every door leads to light. Some lead straight into darkness, and through those open gateways slither forces far beyond their comprehension, forces that devour purpose, blind discernment, and whisper deceit into the ear dressed as logic. These weren't just bad attitudes or negative thoughts. No, this was spiritual possession by lower energies. They invited it, they nourished it, and it became their master. And that's precisely why it made sense to them to hurt you. That's why they convinced themselves you were the enemy. That's why cruelty felt like justice in their distorted minds. It wasn't you they were at war with. It was the reflection of their own spiritual bankruptcy that your light exposed. They didn't just dislike you. They couldn't stomach the mirror your resilience held up to their dysfunction. So, they mocked. They stalked. They plotted. They spoke your name more than they spoke to God. All the while they thought they were delaying your destiny. But what they were really doing was accelerating their own collapse. Months turned into years. Time passed, but they made no progress. While you were quietly evolving, healing, rebuilding brick by sacred brick, they were digging a grave of their own potential with every hateful word. They failed to water their own life. They forgot to dream for themselves. They looked up one day and realized everything they once aspired to be was gone, replaced by bitterness, cynicism, and shame. And when they finally turned their eyes back on you, expecting to see you broken, what did they find? They saw you glowing. Maybe it was a quiet glow, subtle, refined, soft, yet undeniable. Or maybe it was the blinding kind, radiant, public, impossible to ignore. Either way, it burned. Not because your success was offensive, but because it was proof that nothing they did worked. Proof that the divine covering over your life is real. Proof that no lie spoken in darkness can overshadow a soul protected by light. And now they're left with nothing but regret. Bitter, suffocating regret. Not just for what they did, but for what they forfeited in the process. They lost more than just your presence. They lost themselves. They don't know who they are anymore without the narrative of taking you down. And that is a special kind of torment, an identity built on destruction, left crumbling when the target simply refuses to fall. But you didn't just refuse to fall. You transmuted every curse into a crown. You turned every attack into a stepping stone. You didn't respond with vengeance. You didn't stoop to their level. You didn't let your sacred energy become contaminated by their chaos. You just kept going. You kept praying. You kept healing. You kept trusting in the quiet justice of the Most High. And now, that divine protection shines so brightly around you. It's undeniable, untouchable. Not because you are perfect, not because you never doubted or cried or stumbled, but because you never gave up. Because you never surrendered your soul to the darkness that tried so desperately to consume you. So let them watch. Let them sit in the stillness of their own undoing. Let them witness the radiant unfolding of your destiny. And as they do, may it remind them, and the entire spiritual realm, that when you're chosen, covered, and anointed, no amount of wickedness can derail the path divinely carved for you. If you've stayed with me all the way to this point, thank you from the depths of my soul. Your presence here means everything. If this message resonated with you, please consider joining the channel membership or making a small donation to support more content like this. Every bit of your support helps this light reach more souls who need it. You are deeply appreciated, and I'm honored to walk this path with you.